Well, hello. Welcome to the USA Biz Party Chat After the Chat. I call it the party after the party. Thank you for joining me. We're so thankful to have you with us today. Today, I have the two ladies who have founded Superstar VA and who are our guests in the chat today. So let me introduce first Esther, who is my partner in crime, or I'm her partner in crime, or we work together. Anyway, speaking of a good VA. And then I'd like to also introduce Miss Barbara Edwards from Donegal.
Yes. Hello. How are you? I was just putting my phone on mute there. I forgot in case my husband rings.
Oh, well, husbands are not well, although they are, because what if Ernie's watching? So if you are on live with us, thank you so very much. I'm going to get the comments up here. All you have to do is post a question, say hello, comment, let us know that you're watching. And if you have a question while we're talking, we had a very engaging conversation about outsourcing. So typically when we think of outsourcing, we think of what? We think of, ladies?
VAs.
Yes, or the tasks involved, whichever. Do you know what I mean? It depends on which side of the fence you're coming from.
So if you're in the chat and you are a VA, would you put a 1 in the chat? If you have, if you've used a VA but you're not currently a VA, would you put 2 in the chat? Let us know, what your experience is, because we'll share that. The ladies here will talk. We're going to put this in a little better format so it's easier to see the three of us. Yes. But what were some of the things that you ladies felt were key for the takeaways from this chat? Because we had a lot of great information, people sharing, not just you guys, but we had some of our own participants sharing their own perspectives, which was extremely valuable.
Yeah, there were a couple of participants who had started out as VAs or are still currently working as VAs. And really the key things, and they mentioned it themselves too in the tweets. 1 is research, 2 is conversation, and 3 is expectations. And they're the 3 key things when you are outsourcing to a virtual assistant.
And you, Esther, what were some of the key takeaways for you?
Yeah, just as you were saying there, Anna, that it depends what side of the coin you're on. Barbara and I both look at this from different angles, which is really interesting because we work together to build up the courses for the VAs, and because we look at it from different angles, then we see it from either as a VA's perspective or as a business owner's perspective. So some of the things that the business owners in the chat were saying was, again, research, and the interview process for when you're hiring a VA, and be clear about, like Barbara said, your expectations, but those are two-sided. It's the expectations that the VA has and the expectations that the business has. Or like Sue was saying in the chat, she is now an agency because people outsource to her, and then she has her subcontractors, and she considers them, they're part of her business because she can call on them and rely on them and depend on them. But she has spent years building up that agency with people that she knows, likes, and trusts. It's like any other business.
Yes, precisely. I mean, I just remember my first VA experience, and so it was through an agency, and I was recommended to do it because I was overwhelmed, and I did not apply many of these steps. So somebody said, "Oh, you should use this agency." Now I think they did one of those disclaimers, but I didn't hear it. One of those disclaimers that says something to the effect of, "But you should check this out for yourself." Well, I didn't really do that. I just hired and worked with this person, and I was desperate. So to be quite honest, I wasn't really clear about what I wanted to use the VA for. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I felt like I wasn't knowledgeable enough in the area of expertise that she had to really direct her the way I wanted to. So if she said to do something, I thought, oh, okay, well, we'll do that. And if she said to do this, and now from the conversation that we had today, it appears that really the business, it's a partnership, and the business person needs to know what they're looking for. That though that can change over time, they really need to know what they're looking for in order to really know what's going to be a good fit for their business. Would you like to comment on that? See, I'm picking up your Irish accent, ladies. By the way, we're both in Ireland. Esther is in Northern Ireland, so she has more of a British type accent. Barbara, superstar, she is just so Irish.
Ireland.
So
I am,
Irish.
Southern Ireland. So,
but your business is international. It's not just for
and that's
Irish
it.
people.
See, that's the thing, because being a virtual assistant, you can work for anyone, anywhere, globally. And I mean, even with time zones, like if I can't remember, there's about 6 hours, I think, between you and me, Anna. Is there? You're about 6 hours behind, I think, is it? So if I had a VA, say, who was based where you are, well, that's fine. I would know that her lunchtime or was about 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or something like that, which is my 7 o'clock. So that's still okay for me. If I decide I'm taking that on board, that, well, actually, do you know what? That girl is really good. I know she's based over there in that time zone, but I get what I need from that, or from that guy. I mean, that's another thing, a misconception. It's not just women, guys do it too. So whoever your VA is, if you're willing to sacrifice that little bit to actually have somebody that good, even if they are in a different time zone, well, then isn't that great? Because you can adjust your day then, knowing that you will talk to them still in a relatively, decent time of night or evening, which is, now. But yes, as you were saying, when somebody had said to you, use the agency, and you kind of said, oh, well, yeah, grand, and you take someone on. I suppose for a business taking on a VA, one of the things is, okay, what is it that I actually need them to do? And they might say, oh, well, I need them to use an Excel. I need them to use Excel. Okay, well, how much knowledge of Excel do you need them to know? Because, you could say to somebody, well, can you use Excel? And they go, yeah, I can. But in the back of your mind, you might be thinking, oh, that's grand. That's the formulas and the calculations and, all the other things, the mathematical side of things. But actually, the person that has just answered, yes, I can use Excel, mightn't have a clue about the mathematical calculations that may need to be entered. So, yes, they can use Excel, but your expectation is that you want the whole mathematical formulation and accountancy figures and everything that go into behind, where they just see it as a chart and a table.
So what you're saying is that we really need to have clear expectations, and we need to communicate those expectations. Esther.
Yeah. The other thing you were saying there, Anna, is that when you hired your VA, you were overwhelmed and you had a lot of work to do. And that's when a lot of businesses too can make the wrong decision about who to outsource to. And if you're really pressed for time and you can't do your due diligence and your research and your interviews, and I mean, there could be multiple people who apply for the position or the job, or if it's just, I think it was John mentioned about a couple of things that could just be project based and not, long term. If they apply for those positions or those jobs and you're like, yeah, I just, pick the first one, and, that they'll have to do because I really need them to start yesterday, So if you have that in the back of your head going, okay, I really don't have time to sift through tens or hundreds of applications, so I'm just going to have to go with the first one that I click with, and we'll learn together as we go. Or if you don't have if you haven't set aside the time to write down everything that you need the person to do, then you may end up with a VA who doesn't actually meet all your needs, or who doesn't fit in with your company ethos, or who doesn't know how to do everything that you need them to do. And then you'll get frustrated because you expected, and again, we're back to the expectations, you expected something from them and they weren't able to deliver because you weren't clear at the very start. So it's, in one case, it's down to the business owners or the sole traders, the entrepreneurs, to set the expectations, but also it's on the VA or the person or agency that you're outsourcing to, that they also have their expectations of, okay, like Barbara was saying about Excel, okay, yes, I can do Excel to this degree, or yes, I can do web management, but only on certain platforms, or, you know, there's just so much that goes into everything. It's there was an analogy I used the other day with my husband, and because I see a lot of things popping up online now about, or a lot of questions popping up going, you know, would you expect your web designer to also do the SEO? And I said, well, that would be expecting your general practitioner to be able to help you with your toothache, as in removing your tooth or placing a crown. You know, there's specialized areas and there's general, you know, so you have to really look at the expectations. And yes, a VA can do a lot of the basic stuff, or what we would class as basic stuff, you know, a lot of the admin work or a lot of the email purifying, you know, taking out all the things that you don't want to be subscribed to anymore. But they may not be the same, as good at copywriting and writing those emails, or using the platforms to send the emails to multiple sources. So when you say email management, what part, you know, so it's all about breaking it down and seeing exactly what it is that you need and that you want to get through the, I can only think of the word in Spanish, the
Go ahead.
Process.
The apuros, so the stress or the prisas, like in Spanish. So sorry, but if you're watching and you understand Spanish,
Yeah,
in the comments what that word.
I'm next to the border.
So if you know, like, because Anna, you were so anxious to get somebody to outsource to, then you might not have taken the time to actually sit down and go, but what exactly do I need them to do? Because that's,
and actually, that's funny you say that, Esther, because you and I have had this conversation previously, you know, and well, like Anna, what I would say is, if say you decided now, right, I think I'm going to get a VA to do, whatever task it is, what I would actually say and suggest is that as you are going through things during the day at your desk, you actually make a list. I'd like, as soon as you go to do something, actually write it down. I'm doing blog, say you're researching a blog. Okay, I'm blog research. Where have you gone? Where have you found yourself going? What has your train of thought been on that? Because if you, for some things, like take blogs or blog research, I mean, there are some VAs, and Esther mentioned copyright. I think it was Esther mentioned copywriting there earlier on, who are really, really good at that. But to do that, they have to be able to literally step into your language, you know, and be able to follow how you speak, how you phrase things, you know, your little idiosyncrasies maybe with language and how you put the sentence together. So for blog research and blogging, then it becomes really, really important that you find someone that you can work with. And that's where, you know, research really does become really vital.
Those are, well, you know, it's really interesting. As you were talking, I thought, gee, it would be really nice if the VAs had a resume. When it comes to Excel, I can do X, Y, and Z, or for my friends that are in Europe, X, Y, and Z. Hey, you know, I'm planning to come back to Europe this year, so
ABC is handier to use.
You know, one of the things that comes to mind is I love the idea of writing down what you're doing, and really, that's I think very powerful thought. But what do you guys help people who are considering getting a VA? How do you? I'm sure you do. How do you help them to get ready? Because you know, my experience now, I'll be honest with you, Esther VAs for me. Her company does my social media, at least some of it. I pay Susanna to do some other stuff, but she does my social media. She does my website. She does my SEO. What else do you do, Esther? My newsletters, yeah.
Yeah, lots of things.
And I think it took us, I would say it took us, a couple of years to really get our groove to where maybe, I mean, for me, because I thought there were times I finally realized, oh, I should meet with Esther. I should meet with her and not just shoot her messages on Facebook or Twitter as to what I want. So we now have weekly meetings. For us, it's important because we do USA Biz Party. There's so many dynamics when it comes to social media. But what do you do to help business owners who are feeling maybe overwhelmed or really not sure, and you want to help them get a good fit for their business?
Yeah, we have started our courses. First of all, are dedicated to people who want to become VAs. So obviously we're going through the coronavirus, COVID-19 crisis, and a lot of people unfortunately have been left without work. So they find themselves sitting going, okay, so I have these skills, now what do I do? Or I don't have these skills, but I'm interested in doing this more. So we help them set up and start up their virtual assistant business, and they can niche down or be more, a general VA to start with and stuff. But we're also now designing a course for business owners who would like to outsource and don't know where to start. And what we eventually hope to do is merge our clients, our VAs that are learning, with the businesses that come to us and go, right, where do I start? Who would be a good fit? So we become that agency of joining the two sides together of, okay, so you need this from this person in this language or in this time zone. Like Barbara was saying, time zones aren't really an issue unless you need them to be in the same time zone. Like Anna was saying, I VA with her and I'm 6 hours ahead, which means if Anna sends me a message, 9 o'clock at night, my time, when she's knocking off 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, then I can have it done before she's up in the morning. That's also a good way to work with your VA. But yeah, that was a bit of a roundabout. But yeah, we will. That's in the pipeline. Okay, so we will be working with businesses to help them and guide them and show them, what it is that they should do and what they should expect and where to go looking for a VA. Because again, with so many people out of work, a lot of people are just setting up without the skill set and without the knowledge of even how to run a business. So there's so many pitfalls out there that you could come across if you don't, like repeating again, do your research.
It is research. I mean, because when you think about it, when you're bringing on a VA, like you're giving them access to your information, possibly to some of your files, and maybe you're adding them onto your Gmail or your G Suite. So, there are a lot of things there. So like all of that has to be looked into. And for the business coming into it for the first time, they're probably going, yeah, but what do I have to give them? Like, what do I have to do? Where do I have to go? So that's why, as Esther said earlier on, it's funny, the two of us working together, we actually look at it from completely different angles, which works really, really well, because there's one of us is definitely looks at it from the whole business side out and what the business needs to do, and the other looks at it from what does the VA need to bring to the partnership. So therefore it works really well. So as courses are designed, whether they're for the VA or as we're working on the ones now for the business, there's an element of both in them. So both angles are covered as you're going through them.
Yeah. And as Barbara was saying there, because you're going to have to share sometimes sensitive information, as in passwords or your logins or things like that, you really have to trust the people that you'll be working with. And you really have to put all that in writing beforehand, that you know, if it's only going to be for a project basis, then do you need the VA to have an additional access, or if it's only for a short time, will they just use your access and then, you know, you change the password when they leave? And all these things too, the business will have to write down in a secure location exactly what they have given their VA access to and what they've authorized them to do, because then once the relationship ends, either, well, we all always hope it's going to be amicably, but if something were to happen and the VA, you know, drops off the face of the planet, then which passwords do you need to change? What do you need to do to protect your business against anybody else potentially having access to those?
Right. And again, for those of you that are watching or are watching on the replay, thank you for joining us. We are having a discussion about outsourcing, which typically means people who are thinking about hiring or becoming VAs, especially in this time. Esther had mentioned earlier, in this time where COVID is still impacting us. I mean, there's, I think Ireland, you guys are still in lockdown. Am I right?
Actually, both of us, north and south of the border now, until the 5th of March, at least.
Wow.
At least.
Minimum. So we still have to, and if you can get into an agency like Superstar VA, where you can, you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time, that I think that would be ideal, because they're going to have the marketing power. They're going to be able to recommend what you do if you're writing for people for blogs. So I would just highly recommend, if you guys let me go ahead. Do you guys have access to the chat? Can you put in the chat?
No,
I have private chat.
Okay, you don't have the comments. Okay, so I want to ask one more question, but let me put in the chat while we have people with us. How do they get in touch with you if they're thinking about getting a VA, or they want to become a VA? How should they get in touch with you?
I suppose the email at the moment is this. I mean, go on to the website, which is thesuperstarva.com, and our email is hello@thesuperstarva.com. So hello@thesuperstarva.com, and we have the Twitter, and we have Facebook, and we have Pinterest. Where else are we? We're kind of all over the place at the moment.
A good place to be. A good place to be. Well, my final question is this. I think a lot of people expect love at first sight. You know, it's kind of like going on a date. You're hoping that you can be married forever, right? And many of us have had those awful experiences where we thought it was going to work, and then it didn't work. And then we're like, oh, what do I do now? So
I think that will always happen. Yeah, that actually came up in the chat on Twitter, and I was saying, you know, don't be disheartened. You know, like even me, I've worked as a coach. Not every client is going to be my ideal client. So it's the same for a virtual assistant and a business, regardless of whether the VA is, you know, approaching the business or the business is putting out the question for to bring in a VA, you know, if they're sourcing. There has to be that, what was the name, that initial, the chemistry meeting, basically, that you have to see if you get on. You know, I mean, you can tell so much about somebody when you first meet them. And in that conversation, there's, you know, I know we're online now. Now, being online, it does make it a little bit harder, I suppose, on video. So, like, we will have a training, obviously, on how to make sure that you get your point and get your emotion across and get your, you know, read the person through the camera. It's not quite as easy as when the person is standing in a room face to face. So, you know, you need to have probably online, I'd say, about two chemistry meetings just to make sure that everything is flowing and trustworthy. But don't be disheartened when it doesn't work the first time. We've all been there, you know, and that's down to probably conversation, setting expectations, mapping out what it is you expect of each other, making sure that whatever tools you use, that you're not landing any surprises on them, or, you know, I mean, there's a whole raft of things that can come into it.
Awesome. Anything you want to add to that, Esther?
Yeah, I think it's super important just to keep your mind open. Okay, so a lot of us, like you said, Anna, go into it thinking, okay, it's, you know, one and done. So I just have to interview this one person. I'll be really, you know, they'll be the one, and then I won't ever have to go looking for a VA again. I mean, Anna's been really lucky with me, obviously. That we've been working together for years now, but it's because we had a bit of relationship before that as well. So you need to have that chemistry. You need to have the openness in the conversation. You need to have the time to set aside for the meeting each week, and or for the updates or the trainings, or, you know, all the different things. And like Barbara was saying, you know, maybe in your business you're using one software that the VA doesn't know about. That, don't let that be an obstacle either. I mean, all software these days is easy to learn, and they can go and spend a bit of time investigating it and you know, going into the finer details of it. So just because there's that one thing that they might not know how to do doesn't mean that it's not going to work. Or just because, you know, like if Anna were to come to me and say, okay, I need to also now do this, do you know someone? Then I can recommend someone to her, or have someone even within my own team at IPA Group who could help with that issue as well. I mean, it's all about reaching out first to your contacts that you know and you trust, to then find someone else that you will know and trust. So it's getting to know them and having the relationship. It's not just about the initial chemistry. We can't all be like Anna and, you know, have how long have you been married now, Anna?
Oh, 38 years, going on 39 this year.
Yeah. Okay. So not everybody gets to that point, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen for you, and doesn't mean that just because you had 2 or 3 dud relationships at the start that the main one won't come along.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much. I think we had a lot of great conversation today. And of course, this is going to be available on Periscope, YouTube, and on Facebook. So we'd love for you, if you're watching the replay, please let us know that you're here. Let us know that you're thinking about us. And if you have a question, you want to learn more, just email hello@thesuperstarva. I'll put that up on all of the platforms.
Brilliant.
The superstarva .com, and they'll get back with you. I know that for me, I am looking at more ways to outsource so I can get more done, because it's just that important. My expertise is not in all those other things that people are smarter and more skilled at. It's not that I'm necessarily not as smart. I'm just not as skilled, and I don't make money. So you need to look at what makes you money. If bookkeeping makes you money, honey, just do it. But if it's not bookkeeping, find somebody to do that for you, and make sure that you can communicate. I think there are 2 things that came out of this. One is communication. Communication is key. And the other is planning, you know, and managing your expectations. You have to manage your expectations throughout the relationship, because if, let's say Esther wasn't doing something that I wanted, well, did I communicate that to her? Was I clear about what I wanted? Would that have an additional cost? And did she communicate that to me? Because if there's anything you want, is you want a clean, clear relationship with your, between the business and the VA. So any last comments, ladies?
Looking forward to chatting with whoever drops us a line and getting them on board. The world is your oyster.
Exactly. And like we were saying earlier, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, or what time zone you're in or what gender you are. It is completely open to everyone. And as you probably heard earlier on in the conversation, I also speak Spanish. So the course will probably be in Spanish at some point as well.
Yeah.
Or both at the
And
moment.
age is not a barrier either to working as a VA.
No,
age is not a barrier either, you know.
Yeah. And just because the word says virtual in it doesn't mean that everything is online. There's a lot of the tasks that would be done by a virtual assistant that are all offline. Like you mentioned in the chat, Anna, making phone calls or
Yes.
updating, customer service, things like that can be done offline. So you don't have to be a genius at every single platform, and that you don't have to know that every single platform. You can learn them as you go.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, ladies, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Anna.
you.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks for tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, it's this afternoon here in the US.
Yeah, sorry.
Gosh.
There's the time zone. It's 20 to 8 here.
Well, I want to thank Esther and Barbara for joining me. I also want to tell you, if you're in Clubhouse, find me, follow me, I'll follow you. And I'm also thinking about creating a room just for USA Biz Party. So let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, but find me. Let's create a great place for us to carry these conversations from the social media into the Clubhouse. So again, thank you, ladies, for joining. It's been a delight to be with you. If you're with me on the replay, thank you. If you're with me live, say hello. I look at these afterwards and I send them out again. So I'd love to know that you were with me. Make it a great week. Next week, oh my goodness, we are going to have Bernie Fussniger. Oh, I hope I said that right. He can shoot me later. But we're going to have Bernie join us talking about content marketing. How do you get ideas for content marketing? He is brilliant. He's also the host of Digital 360 Chat. You don't want to miss it. Join us then. Thank you.